Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be around this wonderful, wonderful world. Thank you for joining us today for Infusionsoft Landing Pages on Fire. I'm here with the amazing, wonderful Dhruv Patel from Convert. He's our resident matro, the expert, all things including landing pages. So if you have any kind of questions about landing pages, just general logic on great ways to build them, specifics to technical things within Infusionsoft, some of the features, the traits, things we can do there, you are in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead. Of course, I'm here. I'm Rorik. Probably should mention with Infusionsoft's partner training. I know many of you quite well. We have some of our frequent flyers with us again today, and I'm going to basically be here for any kind of questions that go beyond the landing pages. Any kind of landing pages is step one, but maybe what about step 2, 3, 4? Just a little bit of a backup here. But Dhruv is absolutely the spotlight to start our show. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to him. Dhruv, you can go ahead and get yourself off mute there. You are already the presenter. You can take the show away, sir. You just yet, Dhruv. I see you're
Thank you, Rorik.
there you go. Perfect. Now you're live.
Share my. Okay. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and thank you for a very kind introduction. I don't think I can introduce myself as well as you do. So thank you very much for that. Everybody, welcome to the weekly webinar on landing pages. Now, this is the 4th episode. I want to make sure that everybody can see my screen. Does everybody see my screen fine?
Through just fine.
Okay, perfect. One more thing I want to make sure as I'm sharing my screen. If I can just escape, and I have the chat window in a different screen just so that I can pay attention to anybody's unique message. Now, I also have Kathy Swanson on the call today. She was hoping to get some help on one of the pages she has done. Kathy, I do have a planned presentation for this week. However, if we do have time, if I wrap it up early enough, we can jump onto your scenario, what you are struggling with or what you have question with. And if we don't have time, we can dedicate our next Wednesday to your page. We did that last week with, I believe it was Michael, and helped him understand his persona, like who the buyer is and everything, and then care, towards that audience, how to create a landing page towards that audience and how to create multiple landing pages. So just want to clear that out of the way. And get a confirmation from you that next week works fine. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and start today's presentation. And today's presentation is based on, or today's webinar, I should say, is based on a time-based urgency. So when and how to use a countdown timer on your landing page. Plus, I have a couple new templates that have a custom countdown timer. And in this webinar, I will explain to you guys exactly how you can implement a countdown timer on landing page. We do not have that feature available inside the page builder just yet. However, we will have it available, in the coming weeks or months as a feature where you can just add a countdown timer onto the page. But until then, this webinar, this presentation should serve you as an intermediary on how to implement a countdown timer, plus 2 templates that you can start using right away. Now, before we jump into the whole implementation and showcasing the template, and those of you who are returning visitors of this webinar, I want to kind of hone down the process of how each webinar goes by. So a lot of the things that you see, a lot of the slides, or a lot of the things that are repeat are something that I want to kind of make sure that is kind of ingrained in your brain on how you want to start thinking about creating a landing page. This definitely helps a lot of newcomers, and I want to make sure that I don't go too advanced in any of my webinars, that I'm completely disregarding any newcomers or people who are new to marketing on the web. Granted that most of you are experts and you know how to do the marketing and everything, and some of you may know even more than I do. But I do want to make sure that people who are new to marketing on the internet or landing pages and everything in general around the landing pages, I do cater to those audiences also. So with that, today's background is it's based around like an event page, for example. Background is a well-known organization and I have a typo again. I think I had my typo a couple of webinars ago. Is running a yearly event, and after having amazing success in the previous event, the organization has decided to start early registration for next year's event. So think of this as an icon. In fact, I'll show you guys something with my inspiration for today's template also. So think of icon, that event Infusionsoft used to run. Now it's part of a different event. But the goal of the organization is that they would ideally like to reach out to all the attendees and the attendees that did not attend but they registered, like they gave their email address in one fashion or the other, whether they were registering as a speaker or as an attendee, but they didn't really follow through all the way in creating, registering and attending the event itself. And some of them might be late registrants or what have you. So the goal is to pretty much start this early registration process and perhaps offer some sort of discount and start filling out seats ahead of time. And of outreach would be most likely through mail or a chat or some sort of retargeting. So if your customer is visiting your web page and you have a Facebook pixel or Google Ads script on your page, you can retarget them to this particular landing page scenario. The little gray box that you see on the side where the customer journey is usually what I like to do is break it down in where the customer ideally sits when I'm creating a landing page. So am I doing a pre-sale? Am I doing a during sale process, or am I doing a post-sale process? Post-sale meaning after the sale has been done. Am I capturing new leads? Am I converting the leads that I already have? Or am I building some sort of a loyalty with the customers that have already built trust with me for the campaign that I'm running? So to summarize it briefly as a small business strategy guide, we're doing an event registration with loyal customers or customers that we have already captured and asking them to do early registration for our event. For additional resources, there's a site, sites.google.com/infusionsoft.com/campaign strategy, all one word, /home. This is a really good starter for people who are new to Infusionsoft. You can pick out some strategies that work for your business. Has pre-made campaigns, so feel free to visit that. If need be, we can share the URL on the chat also, so please ask for it and we can share that link out to you. So besides that, the next thing I want to talk about, and always is helping guide in the right sequence, essentially. And I call it like a little micro yes approach, where you walk the user through a process whenever they visit your landing page. Understand that 70% of the traffic that would be coming to your landing page could be skeptics. They may not know what you offer, and they want to know where what you're offering in a very quick synapse, like in a very orderly fashion. And one way of doing that, or what I believe is probably the best way of doing it, is presenting in a little micro yes approach, where clarity, credibility, then you build the appeal and exclusivity. In this manner, what they need to do or what they need to pay for your product or service almost becomes irrelevant. You give them little yeses throughout the page, throughout your landing page, and they themselves tell themselves, yes, I understand this, I believe in this, I want this, and I can only get this from you. And it almost makes your pricing or your offering almost irrelevant. There are always external factors, but as long as your offering is in such manner, you have a higher chance or higher probability of getting your customers to convert from visitors to becoming customers, right? So there's that the gradual, reassurance always trumps, trying to persuade somebody to purchase your offerings. So a pro tip for this week is, internal locus of control. So let people feel that they're in control. So you must have, worked hard for this. Let people be in control of their choice. So whenever they are on your landing page, always remember that people buy from people, not from web pages. And it's something that, even to this day, when it comes to writing copy on the web pages, on the landing pages, even I fail to understand my customers and the language or the jargon that they understand. That sometimes I become too technical in explaining what I'm explaining. So always, keep in mind that, if your user would have a choice whether to buy from you or somebody else, let them have that choice. You are just your landing page is kind of a tool or a device to help them make the right decision. So always don't take the control away from the customer. Always make them feel like they always have a choice. If they miss out on this opportunity, they may not have that opportunity again. If they miss out on. And so once you make them feel that they have choice, they will always try to make a better choice, and chances are that because you're offering them that choice, they will make that choice with you, with your product or service. So that's the pro tip of the week. The next thing I want to show you is these two templates that I have designed. Now, I got this inspiration from one of Infusionsoft's biggest partner, and I'll escape out, which is SuccessCon. And that's why I mentioned kind of where I found that inspiration. So SuccessCon is a modern day, or starting 2000 and the modern day icon, if I may, where Infusionsoft attendees, customers, partners can attend the event and learn from one of the best implementers of Infusionsoft out there and grow their small business. And I think if you can attest to how great this year's SuccessCon was, and what they're doing with their future events and everything. So yeah. And so what I saw was, when you enter the landing page, you had this nice icon, and then you have a little countdown timer. And I was like, hey, why not have a countdown timer, a way of allow people to add countdown timer, and then the page is designed very well. So I picked some inspiration from this page. You guys can also visit, attend successcon.com. Is ran by Tyler Garnes. He is a very well-known authority figure in the Infusionsoft community, and wanted to kind of mimic what they have done with this landing page, and see if we can create a landing page very similar to it. So without trying to steal the entire landing page verbatim, what I did was I made a few adjustments. Give me just a second. Okay. Want to make sure I'm not on mute. Every time I try to click on this share thing, it just makes me go on mute. So what I have done is I created a very simplified, landing page. I changed the design a little bit, and this I will do the entire design inside the editor. How I went about doing this. It's a little advanced, but I'll walk you guys through exactly how I implemented this design and that custom timer widget that you see over here. I also have a code for you guys to use on your end, how to implement that easily on your end, how to customize it to your needs. Don't be scared about the code. I'll help you simplify it as much as possible. There's only 1 or 2 items that you need to change in this code. The second page that I want to show, so obviously we have this landing page. Give me just a moment. And you guys can still see my screen, yes?
See it clearly.
Okay, perfect. So we have one countdown timer that works for like a, how many days are left for an event to happen, and all you have to do is change the day. The other landing page that I have created, and I may have to refresh, is let's say you are running some sort of registration, so event registration of some sort. Over here you can see that there is a countdown timer that ticks right above your form that you're filling out. So sometimes when you put this urgency in front of a customer that they only have 9 minutes, for example, to fill out the form below, it brings this urgency of them wanting to fill the information out. So this is almost saying, I'll meet you halfway, and like you are already convinced that this is one of the best things that would happen to you. So usually you want to use this type of timer on a secondary page, meaning let's say you have one landing page, it'd be something like this right here, where they know about the event and everything, and then when they click on this reserve your spot today button, so they are convinced halfway through, meaning they already know that they want to attend, and that's why they're clicking on the button. So after an affirmation of the first click, when you present them onto a page that actually has a form on it, and the form that has a countdown timer on it, you have a higher chance of converting those customers into registering and filling out and completing the form. A lot of time you see a lot of abandonment on the form because people have anxiety about entering their information, or there are friction elements in the process. So putting these two different type of timers, and then this 90-minute countdown timer is also a second type of countdown timer that I will also help you implement on a secondary page. So by the end of this webinar, my hope is that I explain to you guys how to implement these two different types of countdown timers. So without further ado, what I'll do is I'll jump inside the landing page builder itself and show you guys how I created the page first, and then how I implemented this custom and what I did from the code snippets that we have over here to get onto this page. Okay, so first I want to kind of describe the design. Every time I try to create a landing page, I break it down into different sections, right? And what I also do is anytime, so let's say I'm creating a header, I give it a name. And the reason why I give names to the landing page is because as the page gets longer, sometimes it becomes very difficult to remember what part you're editing, especially when you're doing some advanced changes to the design of the page. So let me walk you through what I did. When I click on the manage layout, it kind of shows the entire page to me, but because I named each of my section, I can then break it down and click on exactly what I'm working on or what I want to modify in general. So sometimes it becomes very helpful when you have everything named. I can go into speaker, so once I click on it, it takes me into the deeper into that block, that section block that we are working on, where I can have different rows, and then once I click on one of the rows, I can go in and I can see how there are these different columns in that particular row. So this is the row, and then these are the columns, and then when I click on that column, it goes deeper into a row, and then once I click on that, there are two columns within. So it's kind of an inception, if I may. But it allows you to create a very unique and very flexible layout, look and feel, where you can mimic something like, you know, what they have over here, where you have a Clayton Mask, CEO and co-founder of Infusionsoft, and some information about Clayton. Although Clayton does not need any introduction at all. Really amazing personality to ever witness in front. What I've done, and I'll go from the top to bottom. I created the first block, which is the header block. When you click on it, I gave it a name. Then I changed the background color to a specific color. Now you can theme this whole template the way you like it. So if you do not like the blues or what have you, and your brand color is, let's say, orange, I can always click on, and these are some of the things that you may or may not be aware of. So I want to make sure that in this webinar, I take time and explain to you how you can use, any landing page and it completely to your design, your colors, your typography, what have you. So you can click this little edit button that appears whenever you bring your mouse over one of the colors. And if you click on this blue and click on this edit button, it gives me the color palette. Now notice that there's quite a bit of blue on the page. So you'll see the blue that's in the background of the header. Then there might be a shade of blue behind these boxes that I have. And over here even there's blue, and in the footer we have blue also. So when I'm in the edit mode of the color, if I change my color, I'll copy this in my clipboard just so that I have it. But if I change it to green, for example, and green is my color, notice that the entire page changes to that theme. So you can quickly, change the theme of your entire landing page just by clicking on that little edit button. Whichever color you prefer, you can literally pick from here. You can always copy and paste your own hex code, which is what I will do. I'll bring it back to the color that I had picked, and I just felt that this color looked really nice, and it's kind of dark, but it also brings a lot of attention. And then after, so I created that header. Once you click on the header, there is a row, obviously, and then there are two columns. And in these two columns, the first column, obviously, when I click on the settings of it, there is the size of. In fact, I forgot to change the mobile size of it. It might look funky on a mobile device, so I'll keep it at a 12 width on a mobile device. But this allows me to resize, and when I look at it on a mobile right over here, you can see how the logo is stacking up right above the countdown timer that we have. If I had it off or no size, it might just look funky or not look great. So the resizing of column definitely allows you to create very, very unique pages and a very clean design that you can present to your customers no matter what device they are on. It always looks great. So as you can see, the whole page is completely designed for mobile responsiveness. Feel free to use this template. I will make this template available, although I am kind of scared of making this template available and people getting frustrated with, what is this code, what do I do over here, how do I change it, right? So I'm kind of scared of making this template available inside the landing page marketplace. I did give it a name, so if we look at the setup step, I did give it a name, and in the parentheses wrote down advanced. So hopefully people that are not too with the landing page building process, they don't touch this. But if you guys are okay with it, I can make it. I have not made it fully public just yet, but if you guys are okay, I can make this template available to you guys right away. That would clear confusion that people may have. Another thing, I think Lindy just said, I was wondering how to edit that. So, okay, awesome. I'm glad that I was able to help. Then what I did was I created widgets second section, which is called the intro. So we'll go back to manage layout and quickly go into the intro section. And when I click on the intro section, what I did was I created 2 rows. Okay, the first row has this particular item that says experience the greatest event for free, and the second one has those 3 columns. Now when I click on this row 1, you will notice that this column, and it's shrinking. It's not using the full width. When I bring my mouse over, you can see it's shrunk. The way I did it was simply by going to the settings and just reducing its width down to a small size, so that way I can have a very unique look where we have a really cool imagery that you can have. I have a bonfire kind of an image on the side, and you can feel free to use it, change it to whatever you like. So that's how I was able to create this look, very unique look, where I kind of kept it like this, so it looks really nice and presentable. Underneath it we have a 3-column look. Now I want to go kind of in advanced mode of how I created these blocks also. So what I did was I went to the second row that I added. By the way, if you want to add a new row, you can always bring it over at the bottom of your section and just click on this add row button, and this gives you an option of how many rows you want to add. Obviously you can add more than just 4 columns, but idea here is to limit the choices so that you can make a decision a lot quicker, right? And I'll just do the undo button over here to remove that row. But in the second row, what I have is I have 3 columns, and what I did was I started out with just 1 column, and then once I got it perfected to the way I wanted it to look, I duplicated it, so I didn't have to repeat myself that often. When I click on the settings of this column, there are a few things that I did. So I made sure that on a mobile, the size is always a full width, so that when I'm over here, if I had it on a smaller size or something, it would look kind of funky, and too much text, it may just not look good. So I made sure that the width of that column is full width. I also changed the border style of it to a solid line, and that's how I was able to get these white borders around it. One thing that I did was I added a background color of the same blue that I'm using, and I changed the transparency, so you can see as I increase the transparency, the opacity kind of changes along, and the color automatically adapts to a specific colors, right? So I came about 4.4 in the transparency, so it looks very unique. It looks really nice. One other thing that you can do to this block is you can go to the style, and you can turn the background parallax on. Now we turn this on when it's live, and we'll see it in just a hot second when I launch it, that the background in the back kind of scrolls where the content is kind of like, it'll create this very cool parallax effect in the back. So you kind of get a good idea of how I created the layout, what I did to make this happen. Let's jump into add the code snippet and how you want to add it. So anytime I share the code snippet with you guys, you would know how to implement this yourself. So all you do is you use this element, and you take the code and you drag and drop it wherever you want. So whenever you're dragging and dropping something, it has this blue indicator that tells you exactly where you can drop the item. What I would always suggest is create the row and column and create your outline first, like the base frame of your layout, and then drop items in those blocks to have a very consistent, very unique experience on creating the design. So with that, let's see how we can implement this, right? So what it was, we have this count timer. Now the first line over here is kind of a header tag. I call it H4. You can change the contents over here from H4 to whatever. It just in there, all I have is this Sheraton Phoenix Resort and Spa, June, 20 through 29. It's just the date. So anytime you click on the text, you can just change the text over here. So that's the first thing you want to do. You don't want to touch anything else but that. Once you do that, you can just simply copy this entire thing and come back to your editor, and in the code snippet, just paste that. That's all to do, okay? Then everything else, meaning the styling and the JavaScript, goes onto the launch page of our builder. So once you go to the launch, over here there are areas that you want to paste your code in. So what I did was, for this particular page, we have some styling. And styling, in here, there is very little that you want to change. The only line you want to change is this background color, right? So the background color I have is, remember how I picked that blue, and I wanted to have this a background. Now if I remove this, it still, like I just commented it out, it still has, a really nice background, and I just have transparency on this little thing, so it always shows a little bit grayed out. But the only thing you want to do is change the background color of your choice. I have kept all the text color to be FFF, which is white, but all you need to do is just change the background color, and you should be able to pick your choice of hex code and paste that in here. So the only line you're again changing in the CSS is just the background color of your choice for what you're doing. After that, you want to copy this entire thing from line 1 all the way to line 31, and then just come back over here and paste it. So the way you want to do is, I'll remove everything over here so that we can all see what I'm doing. So you want to put opening tag of style, and then a closing with a slash on it of style. What this does is it reverses this as a style on the page, and then in here I will just paste what I copied. Oops, I did not copy it. I apologize. So I'll copy this, and here I can just paste it just like that. That's all I need to do, and the whole entire thing that we copied just gets pasted over here. Okay, and then what I did was the JavaScript part. So again, this may look like a lot of code, but all you have to do is go to line number 41, and all you have to do is change this 365 to whatever you want to do. So you can literally change it to 15 days from now, right? And all I do is change 15 number. Literally, that's all I'm changing, and the countdown timer starts 14 days from now. So because the event is a year in advance, it's in 2019, I kind of put more days, like 365 days, to more than anything, they make how they have created this countdown timer. And now you should be able to, just by changing, so as you can see, you're just changing some text to your liking, changing the background color to your liking, and you're changing the time span on how far your event is in this countdown timer over here. And this all together will just create a very simple, you don't have to touch anything. And by the way, once you change that, all you do is you copy this, and this, I copy it, and you want to put it at the very bottom of your page, because the way the page renders and all the technicalities behind it, you don't want to put this script up here in this head box. You want to put it in this before the closing tag of the body box, right? So again, I'll remove everything so we can start from scratch. And this time, so over here we added style, right? Over here, because this is a JavaScript, you want to create a script like this, and then I'll close it with a /script, and in here I can just paste the code just like how we want it. Now over here I can change it to whatever time I want to change it to, and once I'm done, once I click out, this little notification tells you that something has been updated on the page. Once you do that, you can go ahead and click on republish, and always once it's republished, you can click on this link and we'll be on this page. Now if I refresh this page, you'll see any changes that we did make should appear over here. So we made that parallax. So now you can see how the background stays stagnant and everything else moves smoothly in front of it. So it looks really nice, has a really cool background scrolling effect. So that is how I quickly created that. One other thing I want to show you guys is how I created this unique look that looks like a table. It may look complicated, but once you get an idea of how I created this, you might be able to replicate it and change it. And it is important that I shared this with you guys on how to make changes to this, because you might be stuck on this particular part also. So what I'll go back to the design of the landing page, and okay, and we'll go to manage layout, and quickly I have a question from Lindy. It says, since the code is in the template, we can just edit the timer or copy that code. Yep, that is correct. And in fact, let me share the link to this code in our chat, so you guys can examine it and start working along with me if you so go to the schedule part. See how easy it was for me to get to the schedule. All I did was name my, and then once I click on the schedule, I'm right there. So obviously I have a row with just one column. Then I have another row. So in here I created a 3-column look, and what I did was I adjusted the width of each column. So this one is about 4 columns wide for the time. Then this one, if I go to the settings, I made it also 4 columns wide, and then obviously the last one should also be set to about 4 columns wide. So the reason why I did this is so that if things overflow, they just follow underneath it. Then all I did was change the text formatting to a specific font size so that it looks very unique. In the last one, the way I got this little icon and this next there is, if I click on column 3, what I have is I have another row, and you can add another row by clicking on this add row button at the bottom. When I click on add row, I have 2 columns in it, one of them being 2 columns wide. So if I make it wider, you can see how it's creating a lot of space between the icon and the message next to it, right? So then once I created this and I got it perfected the way I expect it to look like, and see how it would look like on any device, even on want to make sure that it stacks underneath fairly and looks really great. What I did then was I went back, and I'm at this column. So then I just duplicated it. But this time around, what I did was, when I duplicated the column to the next item, I went to the settings of the row. So not the column, but the row. And this might be confusing. So if anybody is confused on this, please message me on the chat box and I'll try to explain it again. But on the row, I click on edit settings, and I added another color to the background, and then I changed the transparency a little bit. So see how I can make it brighter or lighter. I just felt that the contrast was just a little bit more matching with the dark blue and the pink that I had, and I think I have the pink on certain buttons of the wedge also. So that's how I was able to create. And so literally I duplicated it 4 times just like that, and underneath each of those rows that have different color, all I did was I went to the edit settings and then just picked a color in my color palette that I wanted. I could have picked a gray color if I wanted to. I think gray may have looked a little better, but for the demonstration of this template, I just picked a pink color just because the contrast was a lot higher and it was a lot more visible, and it creates a more of a table-like effect. So as you can see, what I did was I created rows, then I created columns in them, and certain columns had rows side of them with a few columns to make them appear next to each other. And I also saw this in the SuccessCon webpage, and I think if you scroll down over here, see how they have a little icon, and next to it they had a message. So literally, you know exactly how it looks like over here. They have it spanning 2 lines. I decided just to make it all in 1 line, so it just looks a lot, straightforward, lot cleaner, what have you. Underneath it, I have another little section that's just a call to action. There is a message, and then there is a button that people can click on. And I think I don't need to have it linked to anything, but I can just change it to a URL, and you can link them to your second page that you create in your landing page builder. So hopefully kind of this gives you an idea on how I went about creating this page. I guess the more important part about this page was the countdown timer implementation. And now you have the key on how to create and modify your own little countdown timer inside the landing page. So let's jump on to the second landing page, which is so you want to connect one landing page to the second landing page, and this is where I created the second landing page, where I kept some of the copy the same. The way I went about doing this is I already have my template created, so I went to your templates area in the marketplace. In there, I picked the template that I already had created and just made a copy. I said use this template, and then all I had to do is go in and remove a few blocks out. So I deleted all the blocks that I did not need in the manage layout area, and just by clicking on this little delete button. And what felt necessary was, as people are registering, make sure then the speakers again to reaffirm, like what I mentioned in my slide deck earlier, those little micro yes approach, those little yeses always make a big difference. And having, as they're filling out, again, giving urgency of time, showing who are the big speakers that they might be missing out on. And I think that was part of my pro tip also that I mentioned, is like, let people feel in control always, no matter what page or what situation it is, but tell them that what they're missing out on. So you can maybe change the copy here. So instead of saying world-class speakers, you can say don't miss out on hearing from these world-class speakers. And I can change the text of this to gray and speakers, so like so. So maybe something like that. And so we are reaffirming and letting them be in choice of making a decision whether they want to register or not. And then I kept the events from previous previous event, and who else is sponsoring the event. So these are just generic made up logos. And then underneath we have the same footer. So got everything as I wanted. I create a form, and again, you can tag your forms to run a specific automation, what have you. All the tags are available. I dragged out this code snippet and paste right over here. So same exact process as the last one, where you go over here, you copy the HTML bit, and always copy the HTML bit, and this code snippet that we have is specifically just for HTML. It even says HTML over here, so you don't get confused, you don't put additional styles over here. So as long as it's HTML that anybody gives you any kind of embed, whether it's a map embed or what have you, Google Maps or what have you, you can just paste that over here. Okay, so I pasted the code, and again in here I have the countdown timer set to 9 minutes, and you can change the verbiage over here. I got this verbiage actually from a website called eventbrite.com. Eventbrite hosts a lot of events that you can run events for free or paid events, and I have this really nice copy. It says, please complete registration within 9 minutes. After 9 minutes, the reservations we are holding will be released to others. This kind of brings the sense of urgency in a customer's mindset that, hey, I only have 9 minutes. Now, by any means, this code is not perfect, meaning it doesn't have a unique message to it that says, time has expired. See how the time is right now going into the negative numbers. But this is just like kind of a gimmick to allow people to make the decision, but have some sense of urgency. And most of your customers, when they see a timer, they won't wait 9 minutes on the page just to see how it's working. That will be a bunch of hackers or what have you that want to do that. But hopefully, like 90% of your visitors on your web pages are not hackers. And having the idea of trying to make things as simple to implement for you today is why I implemented a very basic code over here. So let's jump back to the landing page builder. And so we pasted and you can change this 9 minutes to whatever minute you have in mind. I feel 9 minutes is plenty of time to fill out a small registration form. And the next step is, form redirect options. So we click on design a thank you page. It takes you to the thank you page that I custom designed for this. It's just a very simple, it just says thank you, please check your email. Kept everything very straightforward, nothing too fancy. In fact, I need to change because we don't have that timer up top. I can literally hold shift on my keyboard and get to the column a lot quicker like that, and I can just align this in the center like so. So it looks really nice, and then it matches with the thank you page also. So consistency across different pages definitely makes it look a lot more professional, and it looks like you're not getting thrown off from one page to another and it's completely different, right? That's the whole idea behind having a landing page and the marketing message that stays consistent across different mediums. Whether you're running an email, whether you're running an ad, make sure the messaging and the brand consistency is same. It definitely drives higher conversion for your business. Again, all I did was going back to this timer, and this code is a lot smaller, and all you want to do is this background color. We are using this custom dark blue color, but you can change that to whatever you prefer. If you remove these, so if I comment these two codes out, they just show black and white. So if that's your choice, then feel free to just keep it at that. Because a background, and on this background, if I didn't have white color to it, it might look too dark and it's not level. So color changes the color of the text, and background color changes the background color. So those are the only two things that you want to modify in here. I would say just this one thing if you're using a dark color, right? And the next thing, and I'll also share this link with you guys also. So this one is a 9-minute timer. So this one, all you have to do is, so in the last code, you have to change something at the very bottom, line 41, and you had to change this number, right? In this one, you have to change the line, like the line number 3, because I have a comment on the first line. It just tells you exactly what you need to do. But this is what you need to change. So if you are changing your timer from 9 minutes, so let's say 5 minutes, all I do is change it to 5. I kept it 05 just to make it look very neat and clean, but you can see how it took effect, and now it's a 5-minute timer, right? So I kept it a 9 minutes timer, and I changed the language over here to make sure it's a 9-minute interval that's running for. And then, obviously copying the style in the style head box over here, and with the opening and closing style tags. And then in the footer is where I put the script opening and closing tags, and copy and pasted the code. And literally my purpose of using this and not make the code look very confusing was to make sure that it's very limited to what you change without getting frustrated with the code or its implementation. As long as you are using this opening and closing tags of style and the script and putting your code in there, there is nothing in here that would destroy your page from running the way it's supposed to. And so once you place that code in, you have this timer, and see now it went in the negative, but once I refresh the page, our speaker icon, actually did not republish. So once we publish it, and if I refresh the page, it'll automatically be centered and everything. Notice how fast the page loaded also. That's one of the guarantees that we give you with the landing page builder. All the pages have SSL, meaning HTTPS to them. All the pages do load the fastest possible. Sometimes they rank in the 90s in the Google page speed ranking, which gives you awesome SEO capabilities and everything. Now, I know that I went a little long on the webinar, and we have about 10 minutes of Q&A. If anybody has any questions or any concerns or any compliment, please feel free to use the chat window, and I'd be happy to respond to any of the questions that you may have. And before I actually close off, as you guys are typing your message in the chat box, I want to again thank everybody who wants to, give feedback on the webinar. What would you like to see next? And I think we have probably something planned with Kathy for next week, where she wants to get her page reviewed and what have you. But part of this weekly webinar is to either show you the best conversion practices, what works the best on web right now in today's age, any review on a landing page. So if you have a landing page that you feel that you are 90% there, 80% there, or not even, like, let's say you're 30% there and you just need somebody to review it and give you expert opinion, we're here for you. And then the third one is the live help on a feature, and I think that's what we kind of covered in today's webinar, where I kind of showed you guys how you can implement a countdown timer on your web page. So feel free to ask any questions you may have in the 8 minutes that we have left, and I'd be more than happy to answer anything that I can.
And just so for folk maybe a little bit new to the platform here, you can, of course, throw something in chat. We always can take any questions there. But if you look in the actual participants list, there's going to be a little hand icon, usually in the left-hand corner. You tap on that. That essentially raises your hand as if you're in elementary school. So go ahead and just tap on that, and that'll raise your hand. Let us know that you have a question. We typically use that approach to get you off of mute. So if you have a very simple, straightforward question, go ahead and just throw it in chat. We can get that answered for you if it's a quick, like, one-sentence answer. But if it is something that requires a little bit of back and forth, definitely go for that hand icon. And I'm just going to chat here myself, as well as the attendee list. So a question from Lindy here. Let's see here. When I build a campaign in my sandbox for the new landing page, does it push through? Well, you go ahead that one, Dhruv. You're still, of course, the star of the show, so fire away.
Yeah, so when you build a campaign in my sandbox, oh yes, it does. So once you build it, you should just be able to push your landing page through to your customers, whoever you're passing it to. If you have it done, I think all you do is assign to that customer, what have you, and you should be able to.
Wonderful. Let's see here. Anything else? We have some great comments again from Mike there. I'm glad to see you with us again today, Mike. As always, if you have any questions at all, this is the time to come in there. Of course, have a couple minutes left here today. Also say, if you look on the Facebook pages, if you're coming to us from training, from already certified, from one of the different regions, I tend to kind of carpet bomb Facebook in all directions with the link here. So if any kind of questions, comments, you can always, message me, message Dhruv. Also, just post something on one of those Facebook posts. We'll basically get your input for next week and so forth as well. Okay, let's see here from Lindy. Is there a need to publish a page or publish the campaign? So it's all live, or can you do it in draft mode where it's not published?
So the way it works is the landing page builder is kind of independent to the campaign builder. So once you click on this publish button over here, go live, or it changes the go live into republish, this is independent to the entire campaign. So you can publish the page right over here, and it becomes live for you to view. Obviously, URL is very unique, so nobody knows of the URL until you let others know about the URL. Awesome. And Mike, I think you're late to the party, but what we covered today is how to create a two different types of countdown timers with some custom code, which I try to make it easy as possible. So we have one countdown timer that's like, a few days out, and then there's another countdown timer that's about 9 minutes long, and how to use that on the page. So whenever you watch archives, you'll kind of get an understanding of what we did.
Very good. Right, well, let's see here. We're getting towards the end of our time here, so we have about 5 minutes left. So we can probably get a nice, squeeze in of a short question. Watching both here. Let me see if we have any hands up in the air. I don't show anything right now. From how to get a hold of the code. Into like the embed code, Kathy?
Yeah, Kathy was mentioned that she was going to be on the road. So the code for the page,
gotcha.
I shared it in the chat. Both of them. So here's the code right over here. What I may do is I may also add it as part of the presentation deck of some sort. I don't know a proper way of having the chat conversation also be available as part of the archives, but
it's automatically actually. So every time there's always include in the archives all the chat. So Kathy, if you want to, get to a safe place. Don't, pay attention to the road. And then, of course, once you're there, just hop onto the archive. And then I'll have this one posted by the end of the day tomorrow. And then grab that code from there, and you should be able to get cracking.
Yeah, another way of getting help is clicking on this little help button on the top right corner when you're in the landing page builder. Once you click on it, either me or Kaveen, we are always available to respond to any of your messages. So if you're stuck anywhere, feel free to message us right in the live chat app that's built inside the landing page builder, and we'll be able to help you. Now, I think Lindy also mentioned analytics. Lindy, I have actually created a video on my YouTube channel specifically to analytics, and it walks you through how you can implement Google Analytics or the Facebook pixel code onto your page. And it's these two links right here. If you're looking at my screen, the first one that says, Facebook sharing with Infusionsoft landing page, and the second one is adding analytics. And adding analytics is the one that you can add. In here, you can add the GTMs and what have you. You can pass those. I'll share this link also in chat. You were asking for the GTM code, so that's so what you can do is in your URLs you can pass your GTM metrics by saying, use the tag manager. Whenever you're using tag manager, I believe the way you implement the tag manager is you pass that in. There's multiple places that you want to paste the code in, and that's why we give you the head box, the body after opening, and then before closing. The three different areas you should be able to implement the analytics code for a Google Tag Manager also. Different analytics companies ask you to place the code in different parts of the page, and that's why we have these three different boxes available for people who are interested in putting a specific code. Analytics companies want to make sure that the code executes at the right time and right moment, so that they can capture everything. So that is why we have two different areas where you can paste your code. And once you click on the videos on the YouTube channel, you should be able to get to those videos and also follow that.
All right, well, folks, it has been, as always, a wonderful, wonderful roller coaster of knowledge and expertise here today. So we'll get to the end of our time as well today. But the good news is, if you're dying for more, if you want a little bit more information, more know-how, we'll be again next week. So Kathy will be our guest speaker, it sounds like, for a little bit of a review of some of her landing pages. But of course, we almost always have time at the end for kind of open floor questions and answers. So spend your time this week, go through your marketing practices, the campaigns you're working on, find those questions, those challenges that you have, bring them to us. We're definitely here to yeah, like I said, if it's landing pages, I'll go ahead and let my friend here, Drew, pretty much have the floor. But we can also go beyond just the landing pages into the rest of the action, marketing, the campaigns themselves. So I'm happy to jump into any degree that I need to. Until then, everybody, thank you again for joining us today. Have a wonderful remainder of your day and week, and we will look to talk to you all again next Wednesday. And as always, Drew, thank you so much for just the great time, the great knowledge, and we all appreciate it here. You taking time out of your day to just kind of keep on filling us with knowledge and making us all better partners.
You're more than welcome, and feel free to, if you enjoyed the webinar, feel free to share it on Facebook or what have you, so more and more participants can join in. We can have a more collaborative conversation.
The more voices, the better. We want to be an absolute choir of knowledge and sharing here. So, all right, folks, I'll go ahead and end the session now. Again, thank you very much. Any questions, any comments? I do, again, keep an eye on all of the different Facebook posts. So if you use one of those Facebook links in the many different groups that I'm in, just drop a comment or question, anything on there. That's a great way to get my attention as well. And until then, folks, next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you then for more amazing landing page goodness. Have a great day until then.